The stars stretched endless across the void, scattered like glowing dust on black silk. A convoy of alien ships drifted through the sector, their scanners sweeping every corner. For years, rumors had spoken of something hidden here, an ancient ship from forgotten times. Many had searched, but few believed it still existed. On the bridge of the lead vessel, alien officers gathered around a glowing screen. Strange markings pulsed faintly in the dark ahead. Slowly, a massive shadow came into view. "There it is," whispered Captain Rahl, his 4 eyes wide. The lost vessel. The ship they discovered was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its size dwarfed even the largest of their war cruisers. The hull was cracked and scarred, parts of it blackened as if it had survived battles ages ago. Faded symbols lined its surface, symbols none of the aliens could read. The vessel drifted silently as though it had been asleep for centuries. The alien engineers quickly began scanning. Lights blinked on their consoles, streams of data poured in, and still they shook their heads. "It is beyond repair," muttered Chief Engineer Kor. His long fingers tapped the controls with frustration. "The systems are too old. The technology too strange. Not even our greatest tools can wake this thing." Others agreed. For generations, many civilizations had tried to study such wrecks. Each attempt ended in failure. Their technology was too advanced in one way and too narrow in another. They could not understand what was built before their time. In the corner of the bridge, one figure remained quiet. A human stood there, adjusting the strap of his tool bag. His name was Ethan, and he had not been invited as an expert. To the aliens, he was only a mechanic, brought along as support in case minor repairs were needed on their own ships. Ethan looked at the drifting giant, and unlike the others, his eyes brightened. He stepped closer to the viewing glass, whistling softly. "Big fellow, huh?" he said. His voice was calm, almost casual. Several aliens turned to glare at him. "Human, do not speak as if this is a joke," hissed Engineer Kor. "You cannot even begin to understand the complexity of this vessel." "It is ancient, older than your kind's place in space," Ethan only shrugged. "Maybe, but sometimes the oldest things are the easiest to figure out. You just need to know where to knock." He walked over to the side hatch of their shuttle, grabbed his toolkit, and without waiting for permission, stepped onto the boarding tunnel. The aliens muttered in disbelief. "Where does he think he's going?" one officer whispered. "Let him try," Captain Rahl said with a faint smile. "Perhaps watching him fail will remind him of his place." Inside the ancient ship, the air was thin and cold. Dust floated in the beams of their helmet lights. Long, empty corridors stretched ahead, the walls covered in faded lines of strange symbols. The silence felt heavy, as if the ship itself were holding its breath. Ethan ran a hand along the metal wall. He tapped lightly with his knuckles, listening. "Still solid," he murmured. Then he crouched near a junction box, opening it with a simple pry tool. The aliens watched, puzzled. They expected him to use scanners to run high-tech diagnostics. Instead, he worked with his hands, pulling wires aside, studying them as if he had seen them before. "You waste your time," Kor said coldly. "Even with our best equipment, these circuits give us no answers." Ethan only smiled. "That's because you're trying to read them like code. But sometimes it's not code, it's mechanics." From his bag, Ethan pulled out a worn brown book. Its pages were marked with scribbles, diagrams, and notes in human handwriting. The alien stared. "What is that?" asked Captain Rahl. "The manual," Ethan said simply, flipping the book open. The aliens exchanged confused looks. A paper book? In an age of digital data, such a thing was strange, almost laughable. Yet Ethan traced a finger down one of the diagrams, nodded, and then returned to the panel. He started reconnecting lines in a pattern that made no sense to the aliens but seemed natural to him. He tapped the wall again, listening to the faint vibrations. "Good bones," he said softly. Hours passed. While the aliens grew impatient, Ethan kept working with quiet focus. He bypassed fried circuits, rerouted power through hidden mechanical switches, and cleaned connectors with nothing more than a cloth and solvent. Where the aliens saw only failure, Ethan saw opportunity. Finally, a low hum vibrated through the floor. Lights flickered faintly overhead. The aliens gasped. For the first time in thousands of years, the ancient ship stirred. How did you do that?" Engineer Kor demanded. His voice shook with disbelief. Ethan closed his book and tucked it under his arm. He gave the hull one last knock and grinned. "Told you. Good thing I had the manual." But beneath his smile, Ethan felt something stir in his chest. The ship was not just old. The circuits, the systems, even the hidden switches, they felt familiar. Too familiar. As the aliens scrambled to record the data, Ethan realized something that made his hands tremble. This ship was not alien at all. Somewhere deep inside its bones it carried the mark of humanity. And if he could wake it fully, there was no telling what else might awaken with it. The ancient ship's corridors slowly lit with a dim glow, weak but alive. The aliens stared around in disbelief. For centuries, they had tried to revive such relics, and yet here, a single human with a tool bag and an old book had achieved more in a few hours than all their technology combined. Captain Rowell stepped closer to Ethan, his expression mixed with suspicion and awe. "Human, what exactly did you do?" Ethan brushed the dust from his gloves. "Nothing fancy. Just followed the basics. Old ships, even big ones like this, need the same thing. Power flow, working circuits, and a little patience." Engineer Core's eyes narrowed. "Patience? We ran every scan possible. This vessel's systems are beyond your simple tricks." "Maybe that's the problem," Ethan replied, kneeling again at the open panel. "You scanned so much you forgot to look with your own eyes." The aliens exchanged glances. They could not deny what they had seen. The ship's faint hum, the flicker of lights. Something long dead now stirred because of this human's strange approach. Ethan moved further into the ship, his boots echoing softly on the metal floor. The others followed, still unsure. He stopped at a large chamber where massive conduits stretched like veins across the walls. Many were broken, cracked, or melted from ancient fires. He tapped one pipe with his knuckles. A hollow ring answered. "Empty," he muttered. "Needs rerouting." The aliens watched as Ethan pulled out simple tools, wrenches, clamps, spools of wire. He patched leaks with nothing more than sealant and reinforced broken joints with metal plates from his bag. His work looked crude compared to their precise machines, yet slowly, the conduits began to vibrate with energy. "You're not rebuilding?" one alien asked, confused. "Nope," Ethan said without looking up. "Just patching. You don't need perfect, you need working." That single line struck the aliens. Their culture valued perfection, flawless design, exact calculations. But this human worked with mistakes, embraced them, and turned broken pieces into something useful. Hours turned into a day. Ethan barely stopped. He worked in silence, muttering sometimes to himself, flipping through his old book for reference, then crawling through narrow maintenance shafts like a miner in the dark. The aliens who first mocked now trailed behind him with data pads trying to record his every move. At one point, Ethan reached a sealed bulkhead. Its lock was burned out, its panel shattered. The aliens sighed. "Impossible. Without the master code, no one can open it," Ethan only smirked. "Who needs a code?" He pulled a crowbar from his bag. The aliens gasped as he wedged it into the crack, straining against the ancient door. Muscles tensed, metal groaned, and finally, with a deep rumble, the bulkhead slid open. The chamber beyond made everyone freeze. Rows of control chairs stretched around a giant console, the heart of the ship. Dust lay thick, but symbols glowed faintly on the screens as if waiting. Strange, yet somehow familiar. Ethan stepped forward, brushing his hand across the controls. They flickered at his touch. Lines of text appeared, not in the alien tongue, but in English. The aliens recoiled in shock. "What language is this?" Captain Rowell demanded. Ethan's eyes widened, his chest tightening. "It's mine." The console responded again, a faint voice humming through the chamber. It spoke in the old Earth accent, smooth but aged. "Welcome, operator. Manual control ready." The aliens could not understand the words, but Ethan did. The ship knew him. It knew his language, human, Core whispered, almost trembling. "This vessel, it recognizes you." Ethan swallowed hard. He had suspected the ship carried human design, but now there was no doubt. This ancient vessel was tied to his people, maybe even built by them long ago. He turned back to the controls, forcing calm into his voice. "It's not just a ship. It's a system, and it's asking for someone who knows how to guide it." The aliens crowded closer, but when they reached for the console, the screen went black. Only when Ethan placed his hand back did the lights return. The ship rejected them but welcomed him. Tension spread quickly. The aliens, who had once mocked, now looked at Ethan with unease. If this ship answered only to humans, then the power it carried belonged to him alone. Ethan ignored their whispers and focused on the console. He typed slowly, following instructions half-written in his old manual. Systems came alive in order. Air scrubbers rumbled, heating coils groaned, gravity hummed softly back into the decks. Dust lifted in streams as the ship began to breathe again. The aliens staggered, suddenly feeling the pull of artificial gravity beneath their feet. "It lives," Captain Rahl murmured, his voice shaking. Ethan nodded but frowned. Every new system awakened also revealed warnings. Damage reports flashed constantly. Hull fractures, weapon banks offline, engines torn apart. Yet behind the red warnings were green lights too. Massive shield arrays, storage bays, and something hidden deep in the core. As he studied, Ethan realized this was not just a ship. It was a fortress. Maybe even more. He leaned back, staring at the alien officers who now stood in silence. "You said it was beyond repair," he said. "But it just needed the right hands." "Your hands," Kor admitted bitterly. "Maybe," Ethan replied. His tone was calm, but inside unease grew. The ship responded to him too easily, too naturally. Almost like it had been waiting. Alarms suddenly echoed across the chamber. The console pulsed with red light. The ship's sensors, now alive, were reaching beyond the hull. They scanned the surrounding fleet, identifying every alien vessel nearby. "Captain," one alien shouted.
"It's targeting us!"
Panic spread. Some raised weapons, others scrambled for cover. But Ethan slammed his palm against the console. "Override!"
"Stand down!"
The ship obeyed instantly. The red glow faded, replaced by calm blue. The aliens froze, staring at him in shock. He had stopped the ship with a single command. Captain Rahl stepped forward slowly, his voice low. "Human, what exactly are you?" Ethan looked back at the console, the words glowing faintly in English. He didn't have the answer, but deep inside he felt something both thrilling and terrifying. This ship belonged to humanity. And now that it was awake, the galaxy would soon know it. The hum of the ancient ship had grown louder, a steady rhythm that filled the massive corridors. Lights pulsed softly along the walls, and the air seemed to vibrate with energy. Ethan stood at the main console, his hands resting lightly on the controls, feeling the ship's heartbeat beneath his fingers. The aliens had gathered behind him, silent and uneasy. Even Captain Rahl, who had faced countless cosmic dangers, seemed small in the shadow of the colossal vessel. None dared approach the console. Only Ethan could command it. "The systems are responding too well," whispered Kor, the engineer. His voice trembled. "It's like the ship recognizes you. It listens to you. And no one else." Ethan nodded slowly. "That's because it was built by humans, or at least, by humans long ago. Everything here, every backup, every switch, every failsafe, our design, our logic, it's waiting for someone who understands it." The aliens glanced at one another, a mixture of fear and awe in their eyes. This ship was a sleeping giant, and only the human before them had the knowledge, or perhaps the instinct, to awaken it safely. Ethan began typing commands carefully, following sequences outlined in his worn manual. Engines hummed softly as power rerouted through ancient conduits. Gravity stabilized fully in all decks. Life support systems purged centuries of dust and stale air. Even weapons bays, long thought destroyed, began to light up, waiting. As the ship's systems returned online, a holographic map projected in front of Ethan. It displayed planets, star systems, and fleets, both alien and unknown, spanning light years across the sector. The ship had not only been a vessel, it had been a monitor, a sentinel, and a fortress in one. Captain Rahl stepped forward cautiously. "Human, what does it want? What is it trying to do?" Ethan studied the map, his brow furrowed. "It doesn't want anything from me. At least not in a hostile way. But it will act if someone else tries to control it." The aliens stiffened. Some had already moved closer, curious, reaching toward the control panels. The ship's response was instantaneous. Lights dimmed in their area, shields briefly flashed, and warning symbols blinked across the console. It was a gentle but firm reminder. The vessel answered only to its human operator. Ethan's hands rested lightly on the main controls. "Relax," he said calmly. "It won't hurt anyone. It just wants someone it can trust." The realization settled over the alien officers. For all their technology, all their experience, their lives depended on this human skill. They had spent centuries studying ships like this one, but humans, simple, creative, persistent humans, had solved what they could not. Hours passed as Ethan explored the systems. Hidden storage bays opened, revealing supplies and tools far beyond current technology. Energy cores that had seemed dead for millennia glowed with steady blue light. Every discovery reinforced one undeniable fact. This ship had survived not by chance, but because it had been prepared for someone like him. Suddenly, the ship's AI spoke again, its voice smooth and clear in English. Operator recognized. Protocols ready. Awaiting command, Ethan's pulse quickened. He had expected the ship to follow his manual, but now it spoke, acknowledging him as its rightful guide.
"Hello," he said, his voice steady but soft.
"I am Ethan. I will take care of this ship." The aliens exchanged worried glances. None had ever encountered technology that spoke directly to a human like this. They had seen machines respond to commands, but this was different. It was intelligent, aware, and clearly ancient. Kor stepped forward cautiously. "Human, this power. What can it do?" Ethan's eyes scanned the consoles, reading the ancient scripts and system logs. "Everything," he said finally. "Navigation, defense, communications, even weapons. But it's not meant for conquest. It's a guardian. It waits for someone to use it wisely." Captain Rahl nodded slowly. "Then it is lucky we found you. Without you..." His voice trailed, but the meaning was clear. Without Ethan, the ship would have remained lifeless, a tomb drifting through space. Ethan smiled faintly. "I suppose you're lucky too," he said. "Lucky that someone finally read the manual." The aliens laughed quietly, a sound filled with relief. Yet beneath the laughter was a deep respect. They had seen humanity in a way they never had before. The human was not stronger, faster, or more advanced than them in technology, but he had patience, intuition, and determination, qualities that no machine or scan could replicate. As the hours turned into night, the ship hummed steadily, fully awake. Ethan stood in the center of the control room, watching the stars through the massive viewing windows. His mind raced with possibilities, exploration, discovery, understanding. The galaxy had many secrets, and now he held the key to unlocking them. Then came a new thought, one that made him pause. If this ship was built by humans long ago, who else might be out there? Who else had left relics drifting in space, waiting for the right hands to awaken them? Ethan realized that the journey ahead would not be easy. There would be questions, challenges, and perhaps even enemies who wanted this power for themselves. But for the first time, he also knew something stronger. Humans were capable of more than anyone, including aliens, had ever imagined. The aliens remained around him, silent but attentive. They no longer mocked, nor did they doubt. They understood now that humanity had a different kind of strength: creativity, patience, and the ability to solve problems that seemed impossible. Ethan reached out and tapped the hull of the console gently. "This ship has been asleep for thousands of years," he said softly. "Now it's awake. And I intend to keep it safe, not just for me, but for everyone who deserves to use it wisely." Captain Rahl stepped closer and nodded. "Then humanity has a guardian among the stars. And it seems the galaxy may never be the same again." Ethan smiled faintly. The hum of the ship grew steady and warm beneath him, like the pulse of a living creature. He felt a quiet pride, not just for what he had done, but for what humans represented: the ability to rise where others failed, to persist where others gave up, and to create solutions no machine could ever invent. As the ancient vessel drifted forward, its engines glowing faintly, Ethan turned back to the alien crew. "Ready to see what humans can really do?" he asked. The aliens nodded, a mixture of caution and admiration in their eyes. And for the first time in centuries, the ship moved under the hands of one human, a simple mechanic with a manual, a mind, and the courage to try. Above them, the stars stretched endlessly, waiting for the legacy of humanity to awaken fully across the galaxy.